Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Best of All Worlds podcast here on the Nerds Roast channel. Hello, Jerry. It's been a while since you've done
It
one of
it
these ones.
it, it
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 certainly
has been,
felt like
yeah.
one. Yeah,
We've been quite busy with various other things. I'm settling into my new job now, so the old
yeah.
schedule and that has been a bit all over the place.
You
But
have a new dog as well, crucially.
a new dog, yeah. We
Yeah.
have we have Chewy.
Mhm.
I didn't give him a Star Trek name. I had to give him a Star Wars name, unfortunately.
That's fun.
But
Good for you.
yeah, no, he's doing great. He's pretty much at this stage. We have him 2 months now, so he's pretty much house trained now.
Excellent. That's good.
I say that, and he's sitting on the couch behind me. I'm like, oh, he's so gonna piss everywhere.
To be fair, it took me 4 years to get house trained, so that's a vast improvement. So
Well, you kept pissing on the chairs yourself, did you?
I wouldn't stop. Like I just got so excited, like just pissing everywhere. Um, so so at least the dog has that advantage on me.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are here to watch another Trek episode, and Jerry, unfortunately, we are at the end of our arc that we've been
Oh.
going for the last while. We've done a bit of comedy for
I have really liked the
yeah,
comedy arc so far. Now the thing is, if we wanted to go back to it at any stage, there are other episodes that didn't make the cut this time.
yeah,
And for me, it would be you've got a lot of Ferengi episodes. Deep Space, Deep
magnificent
Space,
Frankie.
yeah. Deep Space Nine seemed to have the most amount of comedy episodes, I think, out of every one of the series. Well, apart from Lower Decks, because that's just
Yeah.
pure comedy. I love Lower Decks, and actually, as we're recording this now, the new series I think is out next week.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Shit,
think it's out
that
next
kind of
week.
crept up
Yeah,
on us. Yeah,
yeah. So I can't wait for that. That is actually going to be brilliant.
yeah, looking
Absolutely
forward to it.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Well, as I said, we could revisit the old comedy episodes if we needed to, but I think we're ending on a high.
we certainly are.
Absolutely. But we're ending how we began,
Yeah,
strangely enough. That's kind of
yeah,
how it works. So we're kind of doing it that way, which is good.
yes,
You know?
absolutely. I think a full circle moment, if ever, in this
Yeah.
show. So yeah, we started off with Tribbles, and we're
Yeah.
ending with Tribbles, namely, and
Yes.
we are going to be focusing on Trials and Tribble-ations, the DS9 episode that was brought out as a celebration of Star Trek on their 30th anniversary. I want to say,
Is that what it
um,
was?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was a
Right.
special
Okay.
anniversary episode. Yeah, hence why they did the kind of the callback humor to it. Just to double check that. Yeah, I think it was the 30th anniversary
Okay.
of it. Yeah, or at least
It sounds about right. It sounds about
yeah.
right because I know it was the 50th anniversary in 2019. Am I
Yes,
right by that?
so this is 99. Yeah,
So,
so it
yeah.
was the 30th anniversary. Yeah, it was a coincide with the anniversary. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because I was over in Birmingham for a Star Trek destination, and that was the
Mhm.
50th anniversary, and a great time was had if you can get to go to not a celebration, a destination.
Yes,
I think the next one is it could be London actually.
I thought I heard London as well.
It could be London,
Yeah.
London or Germany, one or the other.
Mm.
And obviously the ones in America tend to be a bit bigger.
Yes,
Because especially the Vegas one. Now that's one I would love to go to.
that's
Uh,
the wish list. That is, yeah.
yeah, see, the thing is, it's one of those events that I could absolutely drag the wife along to because I could go to Star Trek, she could go to the shows.
You go to Star Trek, she goes to Vegas.
Yeah,
So
she does.
yeah,
She does Vegas, So,
yeah, there you
um,
go.
but I'd highly recommend it. But yeah, so the 30th anniversary of this one was released, and
Mm.
it's I think it's the very first time they did anything like this, wasn't it?
Oh God, yeah. Like anything like yeah, I suppose it's a crossover episode if you just count the likes of like a scene where someone from the past shows up and stuff like that. An
Yeah.
actual like an actual fan service episode,
Mm.
perhaps. I think yeah, this might be the first one. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of trip into the unknown in that sense, but it's also quite unsurprising in a sense how well it worked out because
Yeah.
the actual execution of it couldn't have been better.
It
But
was very, very good. To
yeah,
to me, though, it was along the lines of we had watched this episode. I'd never, obviously, I've said this
yeah,
before.
much as the original. Yeah,
I've never watched the original series, and we had watched the what was the original episode called? It wasn't Trials. This is
the
Trials
trouble with triples.
Trouble with Tribbles.
Mm.
And while I'm watching it, because I've watched Deep Space Nine so often, part of me was going, where's Cisco?
Where the fuck is
Where's,
O'Brien? Oh,
where's
O'Brien
that?
started to fight. Yeah.
Oh, Tom, what? So Warford's in the bar. What's going on? And then, of
Yeah.
course, the brain switches in and go, "You fucking idiot! That's not how it works." You know.
Oh man.
I would love though if they were, because obviously they remastered the original series. I'd love
Hmm.
for them to redo that episode and just have little bits of the Deep Space Nine episode in it,
That would be good. Yeah.
just for shits and giggles. Keep it the trouble with Tribbles, but just have like the scene where uh well, actually we'll get to it and then we can
We
discuss
will.
it after. Yeah, we'll
Yes.
get to it. Yeah.
Indeed. So, in that case, then we're going to jump into this episode. So, again, folks, on whatever streaming platform you can get it, whether it be Netflix or Paramount Plus, wherever you can get this episode, you can plug in with us and press play at the same time and watch along with us. Indeed, this is supposed to be running commentary and then a review afterwards. So, if you don't want to hear our live thoughts on the episode, then just skip to halfway through the video and you'll hear the rest of it. So, Jerry, whatever suits you guys best. Jerry, are you ready to start this
I'm ready to
episode?
go. Ready to rock.
Then let's do it on 3, 2, 1. Make it so. Of course, I love as well that this is at the height of the Dominion War as well, and suddenly,
Yeah.
what could be worse? Temporal investigations. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, the war hadn't started yet.
It was on the cusp of it, wasn't it?
It was richly on the cusp, but they were still having the conflict with the Klingons at the time.
That's right, yeah. But them.
So happy, aren't they?
Their faces are like, I have heard this joke literally 10,000 times.
Yeah.
Big eye roll at them in order straight away.
Oh God.
Already the tone is very goofy.
Yeah.
So much paperwork. They had to be put over in the past, in the future, that it didn't exist in the first place.
I'd say Cisco was like, put that fucking ball down, please.
That is a plot device, motherfucker. Put it down.
Like how he allowed him to do it, but he wouldn't let Martok do it.
No.
Not happy about that. Benjamin Sisko now.
Or the orb of exposition that I'm going to reveal right now. Flashback. This is what happens when you order an orb off Wish. Oh, he looks familiar. I never thought I'd see another normal kid. I beg your pardon? What did you say, motherfucker? He's the most trustworthy Barry I've ever seen.
Yeah, whatever you say.
Yes. I love that Chief O'Brien is looking at him going, I never trust anyone called Barry. After 6 months, I was hoping. He's not a whiskey, O'Brien.
Lilac.
That's mostly the hair.
The look on his face, he's like, fuck off. I have to say, they tend to use that cloak in the Alpha Quadrant a hell of a lot, even though they're not allowed.
I know. It's mad, isn't it? And let's not even talk about the fucking warp drive limits. Oof.
Yeah. That was conveniently forgotten about in Deep Space Nine. It lasted a couple of seasons and then boom, it was gone.
The Enterprise had the internal logic, but DS9 just went, nah, fuck it. Speed kills.
Sensors are coming back online.
Something's very wrong. According to the navigational computer, we're over 200 light years from our last position.
We're decloaking.
Someone's activated the transporter.
Deactivated and get us back on the cloak. Thinking of another ship. Dead ahead. Then you identify it.
Not yet, but it's close. Very close.
Chief, I need that view screen. Think I've got it.
What a moment.
Yeah.
The end.
Not A, not B, not fucking C
C or D.
or D, you bunch of cunts. Is what he was going to say, obviously.
Yeah, because it's Scotty.
It's Scotty, yeah, exactly. Or A, B. Good
That's
times.
a good episode, actually.
It's a fun episode, actually, yeah.
In terms of having one of the original cast back in it, it's I won't say it's the best one because there's a toss up between the Sulu Voyager episode, which is actually quite good.
That's good too, actually. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
But then, of course, you've got unification.
Oh, that's
you,
the tip of the
can't
iceberg.
can't beat a bit of Spock.
No, that is perhaps the tip of those crossover episodes. Like, I mean, there is one the season finale of Strange New Worlds who fall into the category too. There's a plenty of crossover in that.
Say nothing. I've not
I
seen
know. I know. The people who've watched will know, and those who haven't,
right.
Jerry, will have to wait until find out.
Oh, so it's one of those things. Those who know, and those who don't.
Pretty much, yes, because you have to watch the fucking thing. And then when you see it's like,
I see those quotes all the time on Instagram and Facebook. I'm like, fuck off. Just fuck off.
If you don't know, now you know.
But when you look at the crossovers from the original series to any of the modern stuff, or when I say modern stuff, I'm talking about Next Generation, Voyager, and DS9, you've got Spock, you've got Scotty, you've got Sulu, and then you've got a very brief Dr. McCoy cameo in the very first episode of Next Generation. That was it. You never got Uhura. You never got Chekhov. That was,
Chekhov was a good one.
You never got Kirk.
No.
You never got Kirk, so I would have liked to see Chekhov in some way.
Yes.
I
like that the guy corrects him about the number of enterprises. Like 6 of them. It's like, does the NX-01 mean nothing to you, barbarians?
No.
I love that. I love that. There must be an entire wing dedicated to James Kirk and his cowboy diplomacy. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking, ladies and gentlemen. He literally fucked time.
Yeah.
Security reported that just before we were thrown back in time, someone stunned the deputy who was guarding the ore and broke into the cabin. It didn't take us long to realize it was. His real name is Arn Dar. He's a Klingon.
Oh, it's your man. You know him.
That bollocks.
Yes. Same actor as it was back in the 60s, which I love.
Which is fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the same as when you've got Kang, Kor, and Koloth.
Yes.
It's exact same actors from the original series.
Yeah.
Get them in as well. I suppose you could put them into a crossover, really, couldn't you? Yeah.
You could actually, yeah. But very subtle because you wouldn't actually remember them offhand because you're treated as kind of new characters almost.
However, 18 hours from now, James Kirk will expose him. That arrest will end his career. Klingon intelligence will.
Here's all the people to thank.
Just cover a Borf's face.
Just whoa.
Then, in a final indignity, he was trapped in Cardassian space by the Klingon fleet. Until we heard rumors about him.
The fact that he lived for like 200 years not give away the fact that he's not human, lads. Just saying.
Obviously, he moved around a lot.
Clearly. Must be all that Vulcan diets he's eating.
Did we know where he's being to? No, he wiped the transporter logs when he beeped out.
So he could be on the Enterprise or at the station.
For search, both without raising suspicion or altering the timeline of such.
Haha.
Thing I want is a temporal investigation.
This is a brilliant scene.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's mad to think though that they haven't discovered Trills.
Yeah.
Then.
That's true, yeah. The Spock haircut kills me every time. He's like, hello, I'm the closest thing to a Vulcan in this fucking show.
Why did he have to change his hair?
Because it was the side parting. He didn't want to have a bushy hair. It had to be like neat, uniform standards.
Yeah.
Oh yes, my erection. I forgot about it in season 2.
I love the fact that all Worf is wearing is a hat.
Hat, yeah. It's Spock in the Voyage Home. It's just like, wear a hat, hide your ears, hide your ridges, mate.
It's like Stargate when Teok wears a hat.
Yes, exactly the same.
What about the station? Little of it is habitable. Most of K7 consists of storage areas.
I like as well that he's wearing the exact same clothes as the merchant at the time. Can't remember the guy's name now. Cyrano Jones?
Cyrano Jones, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing the exact same outfit, which I think is a really subtle touch. And now it begins. Again, very small thing, but the lighting now is completely different, changed.
Yeah.
We shall talk about this in the scoring because I'm a big fan of this. Beautiful. Just the way they were able to pull that off is absolutely incredible because the overlapping alone must have wrecked people's fucking heads. Right, act normal.
I said 21.
He's the engineer. What's wrong with this thing?
It's fucking broken. Hmm. So I like there's like a combination of shots that taken from the previous from the actual original series and then stuff they just recreated set wise, which I think is a really good combination there. It's like someone of us like having a Game Boy for the first time in 20 years. Like, it's beautiful. It is perfection. They've never improved them since.
They're great.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Odo.
There you go. Act normal.
I love how they covered up Worf's forehead, but yet, Odo is an unknown, and he doesn't have to do anything to disguise himself.
Maybe he just has really smooth skin. And this is where the mixing starts.
Yeah, there's Worf. Oh no, wait, no, it's Cyrano Jones.
No, never mind.
Today who ordered that? What is it? Put on coffee. Second person. Who was the first?
An older man, a human.
Where is he now?
I don't know. He left about an hour ago. I think he said he'd be back. You don't have any Klingon beverages. Would you like something else?
Okay, leaving tea.
Okay.
Teamwork.
The galaxy. Sure you want
Again, it's a small thing. Just there in the
Yeah.
background, just chilling. I was going, friend?
I love
Friend.
the way they actually have done something with Odo, and all they did was made his hair a little bit more wavy.
Yeah.
all cross-circuited and patched together.
Ah,
Sign of
banter.
Scan rings. Keep the scan field below 20 milliwatts. Otherwise, you'll set off the internal sensors. Thank you, Chief. I was busy during mission briefing. What are you two doing here? Scotty told me to do this. You were going to do this. It's on the duty roster. Must have been a mix. Isn't that a medical trick?
Keep digging, Julian. Keep digging.
I need a doctor to repair a power relay. No, I'm doing a study to do with work-related stress. Oh, why don't you two go on? Then I'm not here. So where should we start? Well, obviously, the first thing we should do is to take this translator here and then leave it exactly where it is. All right, Ensign. I think I've seen enough. Let's get you back.
Well, ensign, he's in his 40s and he's an ensign, will you? Fuck off. He's not Harry Kim.
Or Picard in an alternate timeline.
Yeah. Oh, no, he was a lieutenant now. Let's be
That's true.
fair.
Junior grade, mind you. I do love that these are the kind of episodes where you can really bank on Colin Meaney's comedic timing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Like shit, fuck, shit, fuck. I love that the angriest face possible.
My observation of humanoids, long, soft, furry animals, frustrated,
Space rabbits, as we like to call them.
10 tribbles and 100 then 1,000. Calm down. What's considered mortal enemies of the Klingon Empire? Mortal enemy, the Empire. This a plague to be wiped out. Wiped out? What do you say? Hundreds of warriors were sent to track them down throughout the galaxy. And our motto. By the end of the 20th century,
I love how he refers to it as the Tribble home world.
Yeah. This is a big furball.
get the battle stations.
I just wanted to be like a station where this says battle.
Let's go to the fire.
Ah,
Mm-mm.
ah, ah, ah.
Let's go to the fire.
Fine here.
Report.
Klingon D7 battle cruiser just dropped out of war.
Oh, of course, Kira's pregnant around this time.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. Kira, can you identify the Klingon vessel? The IKS Grok. How much?
Horizontal friend.
Yes. And he isn't on my phone. I remember Kolak telling me he once traded insults with Kirk. This was the Federation border. He always regretted forgetting the chance to face me in battle. Klingon ship just transported two people to the station manager's office, Captain. That's Kolak. Maybe we should be moving to the station how early can work. We know Dargo was there a few hours ago.
I think it might be better if Chico Brian and Dr. Bashir go.
But if we went, we might run into Kolak.
Exactly.
It's not as if you would recognize me. I'd love to see another Klingon.
I want to go see the Klingon fight.
I have to say though, the Kolot in the original series is a little bit different to the Kolot in Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is a bit more of a fuddy duddy, whereas Kolot in the original series he liked to have a bit more fun and
Yes,
themed.
indeed.
Captain Kirk allowed them to beam aboard the station.
Oh, that is one sexy ship.
Mm-mm-mm.
We all resumed our search.
The reason why it's top of the shipyards.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be ready then.
Act normal. Play cool. Play cool. Don't say anything from the future.
Hello.
You were a flap something. You were draining power. I just transferred here from the Mexican last week.
What aboard?
I'm coming to sick leave tomorrow for my physical.
Hint fucking hint.
It's kind of wild.
Well, mind Julian.
Mm-hmm.
But what if that was?
Watley. Watley is not a common enough name. Would you fuck off?
Maybe in the 24th century it is.
Predestination paradox. Oh, Chief, surely you took elementary temple mechanics at the academy. I could be destined to fall in love with that woman and become my own grandfather. You're being ridiculous. Ridiculous? If I don't meet with her tomorrow, I may never be born. Are we ever?
Get this fucking Age out of your face.
Fine. I can't wait to get back to the and see your face when you find out that I never existed.
These two, man.
The
When
two
they
of them
look
together,
old-
they're brilliant.
Oh my god. The chemistry. Hey, there's the
Oh, there
lads.
they are.
Da, 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 da.
So well done, like honestly.
Yeah, very cleverly done.
Constitutes a swarm.
He's so much more handsome.
Hmm.
Let's go.
Like normal.
Yeah, he won't let her do that, but yeah, he goes to the fucking bridge.
Mm-hmm. He
Cheating
couldn't
bastard.
resist. He couldn't
No.
resist. We don't talk about Cess's tree. Kindly shut the fuck up. You're getting us in trouble.
This search business all wrong. You're right. Why bother searching for the decks? Pump yourself out of the fire here and wait for Darwin to come to you.
Also, there you have a fantastic homemade brew.
I've missed how fortunate it is that it has kept you stuck at this bar for the past 3 hours having drinks while we've been called to a conference.
That is seamlessly done.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
The one on the left, the outfit.
Yeah. But that is such an Irish thing to do. Going, that's your man. That's your man. Who's that? It is him. I'm telling you. Actually, no, it's not him. Fuck him. No, that's all right. That's not him at all. I think it's the Commander Freeman. I think his name was. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
It was boat.
It's both.
It was boat.
It's both.
And if I think that Kirk is a Danubian slime devil, well, that's my opinion.
Don't do it, Mr. Lancelot. You heard what he called the captain.
I think we've got a bigger problem than a case of mistaken identity. The quadrant knows it. That's why they're learning to speak Klingonese.
Mr. Scott. Laddie, don't you think you should rephrase that?
You're right. I should.
I love the fact that he mocks the accent.
Yeah.
I meant to say that it should be hauled away as garbage.
I was going like, it's gonna be a fight.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh shit, here we go.
Get up.
Up you bio. Getting involved.
It just every fucking time. The hero of what was he the hero of?
Oh, I don't know.
O'Brien, he was the hero of what? Wait, that was Cess's 3, wasn't it?
No, there's someone else. The hero of Maxie keeps coming to mind, but that's Picard, sure. Can't remember.
Can't
It's the one
remember.
with
Anyway.
that was the one with the Cardassians, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the place.
But it's a thing where he's a hero of all these battles.
Yes.
Unfortunately, every time there's a fight, you always get the bollocks knocked out of him.
It's the Worf principle, isn't it? Like it's they have to beat up Worf to show how strong they are.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, otherwise they're not a threat.
What else? Cyrano Jones.
Ah, Cyrano, great character. One of the best like one-off characters there. Oh, look at that. That was clever. Darren was right there.
Get up, you Klingon fuck. Uh-oh.
Oh no, Robbie Coltrane is here and he's pissed.
He fucking does look like Robbie Coltrane.
Doesn't he? He's on a Bergerac here.
The guilty look on his face.
Here's little Ango.
Necessary precautions to minimize any participation in historical events. All right. This was thick. But there were no lasting repercussions. You know that. No one knows the alternate timeline right now. It might be caused any changes in the timeline. We would have been the first to discover that fact. Why do they all have to say that? Your men were arrested. That's right. But instead of being taken to the brig, they were brought in questioned. All I was out of it.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know, sir. Check out.
Just even getting the shadow right and everything is just that is painstaking effort.
Oh, he'd actually I never noticed that O'Brien actually looked into the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know who threw the first punch. All right, you're all confined to quarters until I find out who's done. Dismissed.
Like it must have been so hard to get it synced up right. Like typical. Always ask the Irishman who started the fight.
Uh-oh.
I love that Jerry immediately checked on the puppy.
I have to check the dog, yeah. He's asleep.
Good.
I'm going to give a little shout out to Mr. Rathorn from the USS Cuchulainn. He makes these.
Yes.
And
yes,
Anthony Rathorn is fantastically made. Fantastically made. He's known as the Tribble Whisperer, which I love.
I imagine he has quite a lot of them.
He has made, I'd say at this stage, hundreds.
Yeah,
hundreds of them.
You are no hero to the Empire.
I've been thinking about my statue in the Hall of War. I wanted to capture my essence. Our statue can be so generic sometimes, don't you think?
I take it whatever your plan is, you've already set it in motion.
I see myself standing with Kirk's head in one hand.
Hire someone to kill him? Did you sabotage the Enterprise?
Nothing so mundane. Let's just say that Kirk's death will have a certain poetic justice.
I'm going to fuck him to death.
Jesus.
So he put a snook up his sniz.
Put a snook up his sniz. Jesus. I'd imagine Kirk did have a sniz, in fairness.
Yeah. Just tactically employed. I'm a woman. I'll be allowed up there, right? Right?
Understood. But I think Mr. Worf should remain here. It seems he's allergic.
I'm not sure we can get to K7 internal sensors. There must be thousands of them. Hundreds.
1,700,000. And starting with one Tribble.
I love that she rattles off the same math Spock does in the original episodes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just go out.
Just a resign of like 1,460,000 rabbits to go. Ooh. Play cool, like normal. Bones. I had to give it a
That was so well done as well.
yeah.
Would you mind coming up the bridge?
He's just trying to contain his fanboyism. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
There's just something about the display,
Yes.
the old Enterprise.
And again, just like kind of like recreated displays as well. Like they've done it as it was back then. Like
It's the trouble. Thing I can figure out is that they're born pregnant. By the time, say.
No, my host at the time was Emily. She was on Earth judging a gymnastics competition. I had a feeling you'd become a doctor. Yeah,
Good old Dax.
Where do I know him from? Oh yeah, I had sex with him 400 years ago. That's what it was. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim.
Jesus Christ.
And now let's hone in on the bomb. Shockingly enough, it's just a wig. Who knew?
It's Kirk's wig.
You see how this one isn't moving at all? That's one of my favorite like cut ways to just like a slow zoom in to a brush.
Yeah.
Like
Send more teams from the department. It's not a question of manpower, it's a question of multiplication. The Tribbles are breeding so fast we can't keep up with them.
you could narrow things down, but presumably Darwin put the bomb somewhere he knows Kirk is going to be next power. So we stick close to Kirk.
He might be this way. Worth a try, but there's no reason for us to stop searching over here. Got it put out, Constable. That's fine.
again, the redone flybys of the Enterprise here are nice touch as well.
Lovely. I love how he's just sitting down playing chess.
Yeah, playing chess, yeah.
Oh, it's not chess, it's checkers.
Yeah. Hey, Scotty.
They're into the machinery, all right. And they're probably in all the other food processors too. Oh, probably to one of the internet. Yeah. And the bad type on the space station. And in the storage compartment.
I did like that. I don't think in the interval they were just going like, well, I'm out of it. Oh, here's Kirk. Oh, that's fine. That worked out well. Don't mind me, lads. Just getting through here.
What's that?
Not working, searching for stuff.
I just love this bit. Nah. Oh. I just love it's always the resignation in his face. It's like, oh.
They could have done it. They could have made the joke that the ones that keep flying down are the ones that actually that's probably what they're doing.
That's what's happening.
Everything that he's thrown away.
Yeah.
The ones that he's landing on him. I love it. I think this is like one you can.
1,771,561. That's one for
That's not the same fucking one.
It's perhaps the lighting betrayed us there. Careful. It's going to go off.
They got it. Yeah.
There you go. Whee. Boom. The exploding wig
of doom.
Doom. There we go. He's that little smile there. It's just like he just barely fucking started laughing there.
Yeah.
You have to say, if they're doing like a 30th anniversary episode, they'd pick the best one to go with here. By far.
By the time we returned to the department, Major Kira had discovered how to use the orb to bring us back to our home.
And hand wave, hand wave, hand wave. And details.
I love the fact that he admits this.
It's something I've been thinking about ever since I saw that ship. Excuse me, Captain. Is tomorrow's duty roster for you? Lieutenant Benjamin Sisko, sir. I've been on temporary assignment here. Before I leave, I just want to say it's been an honor serving with you, sir. Thank you, sir.
The disgust on your man's face, like fuck off. I'd have told Kirk he was a prick.
Yeah.
But based on what you told us, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
It's like you
fucking embarrass me, you bastard.
Wait. The constable wants to see us out. Station.
I love the fact that the only bit of quirk in this entire episode is that.
It's beautiful. It's just landing, this like sitting perfectly on his head. Oh, when Worf hears about this. What a hilarious way to end this episode. Is like, okay, we went back in time, we saved Captain Kirk. Oh, also, we resurrected the Tribbles. I can't tell if that's good or bad. Oh god. But yeah, that's Trials and Tribble-ations. That was a cracking episode. Really fun. Really fun.
It really was.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know if it helps as a kind of behind the scenes little bit of shenanigans, but they obviously did want to do something for the 30th episode anyway. So the original idea that they did have for this was to kind of go for, they want to go for original series callback anyway, right? So the original one, if you remember, there was an original series, I think it was actually the first or second episode of the original series. There's an episode called Charlie X, and they basically bring on this child with like remarkable ESP, and he starts like, making people disappear and, like psychically attacking people and so forth like that. But of course the actor Robert Walker was still alive at this point, so they wanted to get him back essentially to play the character again. But they essentially didn't really get kind of good feelers from him that he wanted to come back, so they got rid of the idea. The other idea they had in mind was another old episode called A Piece of the Action, where basically Kirk and Spock went to a planet that was essentially just mafia town, like Chicago, like old school Chicago, and would be basically just reproducing that episode, but also kind of taking imitations of the Kirk and Spock characters and throwing it into like a piss take on Trekkies overall. But ultimately, I think like they kind of went with the right idea here, didn't they? Like they went with one of the funnier episodes of the original series and made it funnier. So I think that
I think so. Two comedy episodes put into one, really.
Yeah,
and very, very well done from start to finish. Very, very well done. Yeah, I can't really fault it because we liked the original episode and we liked this one, and I think this was the perfect way to finish the arc as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a very quick fire round of guest stars here on this one. So no repeat business in this sense. So we'll reference their names very quickly. The first one we'll show off is the waitress that was talking to Odo and et al. Earlier on. She was played by Leslie Ackerman, who has been in a few other different things such as Baywatch, Law and Order, and The Incredible Hulk. But obviously just makes a cameo here for this particular role. She was, of course, not in the original series one. This is just for the little cutaway scenes to fit in there. So, but they'll go on by the costume and the hair. Actually, they did a really good job replicating the fashion as well. So pretty good stuff there. Next up then was Deirdre Immersheim, perhaps. And she played Lieutenant Watley, who wanted to get into Bashir's pants.
Yeah.
So she plays two characters actually in DS9, or rather, indeed, she actually plays two characters in Star Trek overall. So she always plays Watley in this one, but she also was in The Next Generation as a character called Joval. So I won't quiz you on this one, Jerry, because this is obscure. So she plays Joval, which is one of the Rysian.
I knew you were going to say Rysian. I knew you were going to say Rysian. I was like, where would we have seen her? And I was like, it's probably the Ryza episode where Picard. Is it the Picard Ryza episode?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, do you know what? I'll give that to one. Yeah, like she's the one that offers him the what you call the Horgon?
Yeah,
Jammer Horon. I can't remember which one it is. The one that's basically like
Horgon. Yeah,
Horgon. That's it. Yeah,
I'd have 20 of them.
Yes. You might want to get that looked at. But yeah, so that's exactly it. She played both of those roles. In terms of other stuff she's been on Dallas, Cheers, and she was a regular on the show Eden. And in terms of films, you'd probably see her in the movie Skyscraper and Black Belt as well. So she has a bit to her category as well. And she also produced a documentary which is called Scene Smoking, which is basically a rundown of cigarettes in cinema, which I think is very interesting. Again, small world syndrome here because it featured Renee Echevarria, who wrote this episode. Funny enough. So yeah, that was 2 years before she did that, and there you go. Fun fact on that. Next up then is another one and done, which is Charles Chun rather, and he played the engineer that basically intercepts Scotty and Miles O'Brien and Bashir while they're pretending to be Scotty. So again, he's made a lot of kind of guest roles and cameos and so forth. He's actually, funny enough, in the as a voice actor, he's in Star Trek Armada 2 and Bridge Commander. Funny enough. So there you go. He's in them.
Interesting. I know I've seen his face. I've seen his face in lots of things, lots of American kind of probably cop dramas and stuff like that.
Funny you should say that, Jerry. You will know him more so from Scrubs. He is Dr. Wen in Scrubs.
I knew I'd seen his face. I got the show wrong, but I knew I'd seen his face.
Indeed.
He's a little bit older in that then in Scrubs.
Yes. Exactly, you know? Yeah. He was also in Beverly Hills Cop 3. And he was also in Dumb and Dumber as well, along with the likes of Mike Starr and Charles Rocket, other alumni from Star Trek. I think he also makes appearances in your kind of typical kind of weekly shows, I suppose, like the NYPD Blue, ER, Boston Legal, Criminal Minds, ER or Becker, I think it was as well. So he gets around. Between that and Scrubs, you definitely know his face from one of them at least.
Yeah.
Last up then is the two temporal agents. So we'll bring you through to Agent Dulmer, who's the guy, probably the more diminutive of the two. He was played by Jack Blessing, so he was the one who said, like, I would have had a point with Kirk as well,
Yeah.
So he was, I suppose, from his other roles, he was in the series George Lopez. He had a reoccurring role in that. He was also in the likes of LBJ, the early years, Moonlighting, Mothers, Daughters, and Lovers, where he featured with Robert Duncan McNeil, and various other ones. He was also in Sequest, DSV, alongside there, and he was also in 13 Days and Above Suspicion. And unfortunately, he died a couple of years ago from pancreatic cancer, I'm afraid. So we only know him from Star Trek, granted, from this one role as a temporal agent. But he lives on forever because that's how time works. And the last one then we'll deal with is James Jansen, who played Luxie, who's the other agent, or Little Ango as I call him in the run through. So he does actually have two roles in Deep Space Nine. Obviously this one we know of already, but he also featured in the first season episode, The Storyteller, whereas a Bajoran called Farron Cag. Yes. Again, he's funny enough, this is actually, you're gonna love this one, right? His character's name, right? I'm gonna spell out the name, right? Lucsly. Luxley.
Okay. Lucsly.
Yes.
Luxley or Luxley.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the reason how they got that name was as an anagram for Scully from X-Files.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And if you remember, the other agent was called Dulmer, Dulmur. It's an anagram of Mulder.
Fuck's sake, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Oh, that's a deep fucking cut, isn't it? So he was also a voice actor. He's involved in the game Star Trek Armada, so you'll hear him in that. I think he was one of the more kind of what's the word, like background voice artists, like throwing like little vox pops here and there. He actually features in the X-Files himself as Heights Verber. I think he was in the episode Patient X and the Red and the Black, so you'll see him from that as well. In terms of his other work as well, you might know him from Parks and Recreation. You might know him as well from Return to the Batcave and the Misadventures of Adam and Bert, and the docudrama Surviving Gilligan's Island, where he was a TV guy repping that. So Yeah, he's still knocking about, age 77, and as I say, we know him very well from that episode, and from Deep Space Nine overall. So yeah, that's our guest star sequence really,
Cool.
and it leads us then to our scoring. So as ever, we have categories to discuss the episode in length, and we give the score to see if it'll topple what we think is the best episode of Star Trek we've watched so far. So we start off with the plot. So plot wise, obviously, it's a hat tip to Star Trek overall, the original series, 30th anniversary. So they're going to do something different and special with this one, and they did. They basically took a previously done episode. They worked their way to it, in fairness. They didn't just immediately jump in. They had a narrative reason for it, and it was obviously quite goofy in places. But it was, I suppose, a take of the Trouble with Tribbles, but from, I suppose, an observer's eye. So I enjoyed, personally. I think they did. I did love the massive hand wave at the end, where and Kira looked at the orb and everything was fine, and so I have the dock points for that. But fucking hell. But overall, as an idea, I think it's a cracking shout. Especially celebrating that first week.
I think it's a fantastic idea, because obviously it's something they'd never done before. It was to celebrate the 30th anniversary, and what a way to celebrate it by bringing the original series into Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine, it's not always been the most popular of shows in regards to Star Trek. I think now it's more popular. It's kind of like the Star Wars prequels. People didn't really like it at the time. But they've certainly grown to love it over the years, and I've loved it since the beginning. I've watched every episode when they came out, and I absolutely loved it. But in terms of this episode, it was a nice way to give that shout out to the original series, to Gene Roddenberry, to the anniversary, and what a way to do it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was really, really, really well done. The plot was fantastic, even though it was hammy, but it was supposed to be hammy. It was two comedy episodes put into one, and it just worked from start to finish for me. So I'm gonna go 8.
I'm gonna match you with the 8 there, because I was kind of fiddling around that number myself. So yeah, and that's including the hand wave at the end. So yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Setting, I'm a big fan of as well, because I'm sure you'll agree, Jerry, making all those sets look exactly as it should be, and then syncing these guys up into it as well was a bit of hard work. So how do you feel the setting category goes in this episode?
I think this has to be high, because it wasn't just green screen CGI done. It wasn't. It was really, really well done. They purposely built practical props, practical sets that matched 100% to the originals. Obviously they didn't create a full Enterprise bridge, but they created enough of it that you had the wonderful control panels, the screens, the chairs, just everything fit for me. The turbo lifts, the fact that they recreated a lot of the bar. The corridors were absolutely perfect. The little stations where they were working, everything just clicked for me as well. This is not going to be a low one either, so I'm going to go with 8 to a 9 on this one, because I just thought the fact that it was all practically done. It wasn't CGI, it wasn't green screen, it was practically done, and they obviously then had to fit that in with some of the original footage. But it was absolutely fantastic, and you can't really, there's no real difference between the original series and the stuff that they had done. Everything fit together beautifully. So yeah, an 8 to a 9 on this one, absolutely.
I'm gonna meet you with 9, to be honest, because much to your point, the actual effort alone to get everything looking original, but making it look like it belongs. That's the key thing. You can have a facsimile there, absolutely no problem. But the real issue you have is actually making it feel like it should be there. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. Especially because stuff like consoles and panels, they're easy to get wrong, especially if you don't know the source material. These lads have years of experience. They have all the tape to hand there. They know what they're doing. So yeah, I think 9 is a good shout. In terms of the writing, I think obviously half the episode kind of writes itself, because it's interspacing itself within the episode. But the actual little exchanges, the kind of fish out of water scenes, were really well done. Especially the stuff like the transporter and this stuff at the Klingon was really well done. like overall, this is an episode where everyone was having a bit of crack with it.
100%, yeah.
Even small things like like I said, like Bashir, like being on the spot, going, "Oh, this man is ill. I'm a doctor." Yes, just I'll try to more into the acting more so, but the situation, the sitcom part of this episode was real fun. So yeah, I'll probably give a decent score on this one as well. I think it was probably the one thing I'd say this would be missing. This is just me fancy booking, is a little bit of that kind of like taking the Mickey a little bit out of the Kirk and McCoy exchange. If like Bashir and O'Brien did that a little bit more, that'd be nice. But that's like they only had enough time for one episode, and they're already doing half of it as it is. So that's just me nitpicking there. But I'd say eight is my kind of guess for our writing, because it was strong across the board, no real issues, and again the hand wave at the end was kind of just because it ran out of time. So
yeah, I'll meet you at 8. I thought the writing was good. Obviously, a lot of the episode wrote itself, but you have to understand, you then had to, you weren't just writing an episode. The writers just weren't writing an episode. They were writing an episode into another episode and trying to figure out, how does this fit? Where do we fit this part in? Where do we fit that part in? So all credit to them. The writing had to have been high for this episode. They might have been high. You never know.
Always helps.
Yeah, absolutely. But even it was supposed to be funny. It was supposed to be hammy. It wasn't an episode that people had to take seriously. Exactly. So let's just have a bit of fun with it. And they certainly did that, and it was fun to watch as well. So I'll match it there. I'll go an 8.
Yeah, deadly. So then we move on to our next category then, which is acting. So Jerry, being the actor among us, would you rate everyone's performances quite high in this one?
Yeah, well, there was, it's certainly not it's not one of those episodes. It's not Far Beyond the Stars or anything like that. It's an episode where everyone did their job. We'll say it wasn't, and there was no outstanding acting performances. We'll say there's nothing you could point to and go, Jesus, that was a really good acting there. It was just they got the job done, and I like that. Again, it was to do with the fact that they were having a bit of fun. They were enjoying themselves with this episode. So I'm certainly not going to go low with it, because there was no bad acting in it. I suppose if you were to really point anything out, would be the Klingon, the disguised Klingon. I can't remember his name actually.
Aaron Darvin.
If you wanted to actually have a look at any one particular actor in this episode, probably would be him, because especially when they catch him, and his response is like is real cheeky. It's real. It's so. I'd say
real like
no outstanding performances, I think, but there's some good acting overall. So I won't go low with this. I'll go with 7.
I'll match you with 7. I'm happy to agree with 7 there. Action again, I think, is a bit of a quiet episode in this sense. Like the bar scene, I don't think we can really give points to that one, considering the it's from the previous episode. So I think this is perhaps the one thing where we might have to give this a bit of leniency, because obviously it's a nice flowing episode in that sense. It doesn't do anything particularly kind of fast paced, I suppose, but the actual scene at the end where they're trying to look for a bomb in a bunch of fur balls had a nice natural tension to it. The difference is that how this ends. So like in a sense there is tension, there isn't. But overall, like I think it wasn't an episode for action, as opposed to an episode for just enjoying the kind of theater of it and enjoying the fanboyish part of it. So I mean, by that logic, I'd rank it in the middle of the road, because again, it's taking scenes from the previous episode. But I value your thoughts on that, Jerry, yourself. What would you say?
I would agree. Obviously, they couldn't put too much into it. Obviously, the fight is there, but it's a fight taken from another episode. They did put little bits in where O'Brien is superimposed over the fight, and he's been beaten up, and then he gets his own back, and boom, he knocks him out. You've got the stuff with Worf and Odo as well. So there's a little bit of action there. Then, of course, as you say, the tension when they're trying to search for the Tribbles in the grain storage. I'm not going to give them no points, because it was all integrated very nicely, but it can't be high either. So I'm kind of, how does it like that? 5 to a 6.
I was going to say 5. So I think
we'll go with 5. Yeah.
And I don't think I have to say anything more about effects in this category. It's a 10 straight away.
It's straight out 10. How
Yeah.
they integrated everybody into the episode, how they integrate, especially the part with O'Brien and Kirk.
That's the
I thought that for me was outstanding, and even the fight as well. How they integrated certain things, and how Darwin was in the background, how Odo was sitting on the chair, and they're talking at the bar. I'm like, it's all so good. 10 out of 10, 100%.
Yeah,
cannot be marked any other way.
Like we should remember that this episode was 1999, right? So this is not like the same level of, say, deep fake CGI that you can have now with most modern movies. This is essentially practical CGI. This is still blue screen technology. So it's still, you're still essentially taking the composite of that person and putting it in to the shot. But then also what you're doing is you're putting them layered so that they'll appear before or in front of somebody, which is so fucking hard to do, especially with like what I would assume to be the technology at the time. And not only that as well, there's one thing I throw in here as well. That scene you're talking about with O'Brien and Bashir in there, they manufactured a shadow for Kirk for O'Brien's face, like, and I only noticed that now when I was watching that episode that he actually had a natural shadow for Kirk there. I'm thinking, I don't think there's any way to actually replicate that. I think you actually do have to cast a man's shadow over O'Brien, and then you take that data and put it into the episode. I'm thinking like
that. Which is mad to think that that's how they did it.
It's attention to fucking detail. It's a stuff that if you did watch it and then you did have a critical eye to it, you think that looks terrible now because you notice it. But even small things like when you do see how the blue screened in and you see like kind of like old video games, like their feet aren't necessarily touching the floor. They've done a clever thing enough where they are obviously touching the floor, but there's something a little bit, so you can kind of guess that maybe they're weighted down, like, you know. So it's smart stuff like that, and even the stuff when they're on the bridge as well. Like normally blue screening gives it away with the kind of the blue lighting around the shoulders and stuff like that. So that's why they've done stuff with the lighting. I mentioned at the start of the episode where anything on the Defiant is like fairly like white lighting, let's say, and then you'd have, say, the Enterprise, which has a much softer yellowish lighting, just to give you that differentiation. They deserve so much more credit for this episode than it deserves. I think they got awards for it, I'm not too sure, because the actual accomplishment alone, bear in mind, this is still within a schedule of like 20 episodes per year. So they had to get this done in a certain window. I think this is a fucking accomplishment by any stretch of the imagination. Just turn around the phone.
100% agree. I think they did fantastically well with this. There's not much more we can say, really. It's an absolute 10 out of 10.
100%.
It is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Next up then is the score of this episode. I find this is a very mixed category, Jerry, but I'd value your thoughts on this one.
To me, it's generic Deep Space Nine music mingled in with a little bit of the original series. It's very, as you say, it's very kind of middle of the road. So I would go along with we would give it the middle of the road. So I'd give it a 5.
Yeah, I'll go with 5 as well, because I think they had the nice little sting at the start where the Enterprise appears. But then maybe it's just me, but I feel like they used the wrong sound effects for when they went to Red Alert. I had in my head there was a different Red Alert noise for the original series. I think they were taking the same sound effects from the movies more so. I could be wrong about that completely, because again, I am often wrong about these things.
It's something I'd have to look into, but I genuinely don't know. I don't know.
It sounded wrong. It sounded out of place, but that's just me anyway. Maybe so, like the computer noise wasn't there or whatever it is. They missed a few things in this one, I think. But like I said, it wasn't the emphasis. The emphasis was on like, here, look at the fucking blue screening majesty we've just done. Stop listening, just watch.
Yeah.
So I see that. Next up then is scene. Again, we go by how many memorable scenes are in this episode and so forth. And Jerry, we're fucking spoiled for choice in this one, aren't we?
I don't know where to go. Personally, you know what? I think I'd go with the O'Brien and Kirk. The telling off scene has to be that. For me, it has to be that. Because not only were the graphics so well done, but the fact it was the interaction between the two of them as well. I remember we had talked about this from watching the original episode. I'm like, oh, so there was a guy there.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So they just swapped him out and then he interacts with him. I'm like, oh, it's so good. So good. Oh, I don't know, Jonathan. How would you I don't know how to score this. How would you score it?
10. I'll tell you why I'm
gonna have to go for a 10. Yeah.
I'll tell you why I'm going 10 on this one, because I don't think there was any necessarily wasted movement in this episode. Every scene in this had either a punchline or a joke or setting up a joke. Everything delivered. Everything was efficiently done, to the point where like that didn't feel like a 45-minute watch at all. That felt like such a quick turn, and that to me is a sign of, first of all, good writing, but good scene flow and good storyboarding in a sense. But even some of the back and forth with the temporal agent, that was funny in of itself. They're giving it about, oh, fucking Kirk, man. Honestly, we have a whole fucking fall in the bastard, stuff like that. Like very small things you don't necessarily go back to and watch on a regular basis, but you will, for the purpose of this episode, is funny in of its own accord. The stuff like the banter between O'Brien and Bashir. Again, this is the development that I'll say more on the category for characters here, but even when the lieutenant Watley was kind of like flirting with Bashir, it's like, okay, that's a bit strange, but then he does the fucking Back to the Future shit in his head, and he's thinking like, oh, small stuff like that you forget about initially, but then when you watch the entire episode, thinking this is fucking brilliant, everything is funny here, so this is my logic why I think it's a 10, because every scene was funny in this.
We will go with a 10 then. So
yeah. Again, this is another relatively high category for me as character. I think a few people obviously had a quiet one, like Kira and Quark and Odo, particularly. I thought had a very quiet episode.
Yeah.
I think the way Worf was deployed was very, very funny, in a sense where, like, of course they have Worf on this mission, and they realize, oh, actually no, we can't have Worf on this mission. Shit. There's two very good reasons why we can't have him here.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think maybe it's just me, but I think the start of the show were Dax and Bashir for me.
I would agree there. Certainly, I would agree with Dax. She was fantastic in this episode. Everything from wanting to go and see Kola to saying what you want, saying about Spock, and then talking about McCoy. I'm like, this is funny. It's just pure funny. Absolutely brilliant. I don't think I can go with 10 with this though. No. I'd go an 8 to a 9 on this one, so I'll let you choose.
I probably know if I was going to go 8.5, so that actually works out quite well.
Yeah, let's go 8.5 on that, but it's still really strong category, really strong performances and whatnot. So yeah, I'd be happy enough with that.
I think so too. Last up then is the consequences of this episode. So, well, probably enough, like, there's only, like, with the whole kind of mechanics of the episode, there are no consequences. Everyone's fine. But
just fine.
Just fine. But there are two big consequences. One, the Tribbles are back. And they've fucked all over Quark's bar. But I think the actual one that genuinely does matter to the canon is the Klingons.
Yeah.
So I love this personally that they had to address it. They didn't have to. They didn't have to have this kind of like reason for it. And again, this expanded more. There's an Enterprise 3-parter that goes all in depth on this when they didn't have to. You could have just left it at like Worf just going, we don't talk about it, and that was enough. Like we just found that hilarious.
They could have said that, but they didn't. And the fact that they said, was it
genetic mutation?
Was it genetic mutation, or was it a virus?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, it was actually both. It was both. That's how they did it. They were experimenting. The Klingons were experimenting with augment DNA. Somebody got a cold and fucked it up.
Yeah, hilariously enough.
Absolutely brilliant. I loved that. So consequences, obviously they brought Tribbles back, and then of course you've got the fact that led into, which was probably one of the better to be continued 2 to 3-parter episodes in Enterprise, which was the augments and whatnot. So I'm gonna go 8 with this one.
Can I push you to perhaps an 8.5 based on the fact that
I'll go 8.5.
Okay,
and just for the Tribbles alone.
But the Tribbles alone, but I think it's also like the reason this is a little bit of a meta one for me because I think it opened the door for crossover episodes to be genuinely entertaining in that sense. We know you were mentioning crossover episodes before, and there were more dramatic character based ones with Spock and Scotty and so forth. This was a romp. This was a funny little like hat tip to the original series type of thing, and again, episode in Strange New Worlds that I'm thinking of right now. Again, the people who know will know. And again, it taps into that same idea. And the difference is that without this episode being able to do that kind of big jump in time difference, you wouldn't have thought this to be possible. And it also goes to show you that Star Trek can actually be funny, can actually do genuinely really good comedy. And it's not just down to the fact that like you can have people that are very good comic actors. You might have someone in who writes a funny line every now and then. This is a genuinely entertaining episode that doesn't mean anything in the end. It's inconsequential.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic that I'm giving this such a high score, but there is a reasoning to what I'm saying here. So yeah, I'm going for 8.5 on this one.
Yeah, I find that in terms of the comedy episodes that Deep Space Nine's in a league of their own because they, obviously Deep Space Nine when it started out was very dark and dreary, and every single one of the people on that show has some sort of problem, some sort of issue. They're not perfect. It's not like the Next Generation where everybody was classed, oh, they're perfect. It wasn't. They wanted to show you that yes, it's 400 years in the future. Yes, there's this lovely, like, Earth is perfect and it's paradise and everyone's wonderful. But it showed you that humans are human.
Yeah. And
they can have issues and they can have problems. And that's why I think I loved it so much, because it wasn't so like rosy in the garden. O'Brien getting put in prison, but not getting put in prison, but yet he served 30 years and it's all in his head. That's one fucked up episode, man. And it fucks up his head. That's fantastic, and the writing is just amazing. So that's why I think Deep Space Nine is the best, and especially with these episodes, they just decided let's go all out, let's have a bit of fun here, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So that leaves Trials and Tribble-ations with the scoring we have up on screen there, with a final score, Jerry, of 79 out of 100.
Now I thought it was actually going to get higher than that.
So did I, but there was the action in this and the score. It let itself down. Otherwise, the category is on average like an 8.5 to a 9.
Yeah.
So there you go. So with that, then I'll give you a rundown of the score sheet. So, in last place is the Voyager Conspiracy on 59, followed then by the Arsenal Freedom, a half point ahead. Then we have the Enterprise Incident at 67, followed then Joint would be 15th with Tinker Tenor, Dr. Spy, and the Doomsday Machine at 72. Then we have the Conspiracy and the Battle both on 73. Then we have the Space Seed episode at 77. So funny enough, Trials and Tribble-ations actually sit 10th on our league table at the moment at 79 out of 100. They've already been beaten by the Next Generation double of Q-Who and Cupid, 80 and 81 respectively. The original series double of Balance of Terror and The Trouble with Tribbles. So interestingly enough, we've actually based the original episode funnier than the Deep Space Nine, which is incredible.
Yeah, I think that's mad. But you see, the thing is, again, it was all down to the reason this didn't get higher, because this probably, if the score and the action had been higher, it would have got probably at least 7 or 8 more points.
Yes.
So it would have been near 90. At least, I think it would have been near 90. So you had to take that into account, because we had to lower it down because it was the same music and the same action from the other episode.
Exactly. And like I said, this is the whole point of the episode, is to find the best all-round episode of Star Trek. So that's where like episode is, we remember Trials and Tribble-ations, and it is a brilliant episode for the scenes and the special effects and everything else around it. But episodes have weak points, and this is one of the weak points. Followed then we still have the top 5, which is the Endorian Incident, Skin of Evil, both 83 out of 100. Then we have No Small Parts from Lower Decks, which, remarkably enough, Jerry, is actually the highest ranked comedy episode of our arc, remarkably enough. Still stands third place at 83.5, but still hasn't troubled Best of Both Worlds at 90.5 or In the Pale Moonlight for 91. Still not besmirched at all by any of this comedy bullshit.
I'm telling you, I'm making this prediction now. And I'm not going to tell you what episode I think it is, but I think there's one episode. There's only one episode in my mind that could even get close to the 91.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Okay.
I'll tell you what series. I'll tell you it's Deep Space Nine. It's another Deep Space Nine episode. And I think for me, it's the only one that's going to get close. That episode.
Okay. I know the one you're talking about because I know we've had this discussion before.
We have had this.
When we do get to it, we'll see if we'll put your money where your mouth is in that sense. But yeah, that actually ends this episode somewhat and ends our comedy arc, Jerry. We're back to the serious Star Trek after this, aren't we? But won't be the last time we do lighthearted episodes. We will find a reason to watch something light. I think it's fair to say. So will we tell the people then what to look forward to next? Considering we are now back on the beaten track when it comes to our next episodes.
You know what? I think I'm gonna let you do it because I've forgotten.
You forgot about it, yeah, no, yeah. I did something about the deer in the headlights look as I said that. I was like, ah, shit. So obviously the last time we've done kind of like loops like this where we done like I've set up our episodes, then we do an arc, and then we do an episode that leads into a two-parter. So we're gonna do something similar in this one. Like the last time we did Q Who, that then led to Best of Both Worlds. So we have a similar link here. This one, however, goes between series, which is an interesting twist. So I mentioned Best of Both Worlds earlier on. Let's move on to the episode after that. Let's watch the episode Family. So Family, obviously, as the name implies, is going to see the I suppose a bit of character development between a lot of the characters involved, but it is a very Picard oriented episode for very obvious reasons, and we'll go into depth in that when we watch the episodes. But you may be asking, what does that lead into in terms of type of episode for Next Generation? It actually isn't, because Family is going to lead into the debut of Deep Space Nine itself, the Emissary two-parter.
Because I see where you're going with that. Yeah,
because the theme for the next 3 episodes are the effects and indeed consequences of Wolf 359.
Yeah,
Picard traumatized that he couldn't save people, and then one person who's very fucking pissed off that he didn't.
Yeah.
So that is what we have to look forward to in this one. So Family and then the Emissary Part 1 and 2 is our next port of call here on the Best of Both Worlds. Jerry Soul, are you excited?
I am, because these are two, for me, obviously, introduction to Deep Space Nine and to Benjamin Sisko and to the wormhole and Bajor. I can't wait for that. But in terms of pure raw acting ability, you can't get better than Family. And
yes,
I think that could be very high on the list. Do I think it's going to get to a 91? Probably not. But I definitely think it's going to rank high, especially for acting, writing, and whatnot. It's going to be high enough.
That's the saying. It could be one of those like lowballing episodes. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. We've had episodes like that before where we're thinking like, oh, it's a pretty standard episode, and then it ends up being like fucking 5th in the queue, whatever it is. So
yeah,
you never know what happens. But either way, that is our next protocol, and that's what to look forward to next in the show. Jerry Soul, thank you very much for joining us as ever for this one.
Pleasure as always.
Absolutely. And by all means, I'm sure you have a lot of opinions on how we scored this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because I can imagine some very angry people in the comments going by the score that we've given it. And to be fair, we were shocked as well. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But nevertheless, again, we're also at the start of a new arc very, very soon after Emissary. So if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments or on our social medias, and we will put them under consideration, because again, we are very open to ideas and suggestions for episodes. But for now, by all counts, thank you very much for watching this episode, and indeed any of the series of the Best of All Worlds we've done. And remember, don't eat Tribbles, they're full of bombs.